Hi everyone, my name is Steve Bjors and I'm CEO of Reshift Media. Today I'd like to speak with you a bit about how franchise systems can grow customers using ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general. Just as we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Reshift Media. So we're a digital marketing company who specializes in franchise systems. We help with all things digital. Could be search, social, websites, apps, and everything in between. And we're really proud to say that we were recently named the world's best franchise marketing company at the Global Franchise Awards. And even more recently, we won gold for lead generation worldwide at the Smarties. Now, enough about us. Let's talk a bit about ChatGPT and AI. So just to set the stage to give you a bit of a sense of what we're looking at here, when Netflix was started, it took 3.5 years for them to hit 1 million users. Fast forward to 2006, it took Twitter 2 years to hit 1 million users. Facebook, the gigantic behemoth that it is, took 10 months to hit 1 million users. Spotify was only 5 months, and Instagram so far was the quickest at 2.5 months. Well, ChatGPT, when it was launched in late 2022, reached 1 million users in 5 days. And as of March of 2023, they had 1.6 billion visits in that month. ChatGPT's growth has been absolutely staggering, and everybody's talking about it, which is probably why you're watching this video. Instead of trying to come up with a clever definition of what ChatGPT is, I thought, well, let's just ask ChatGPT. So I did. So I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, what is ChatGPT? And here's the response I got. You can read this whole thing, of course, but the thing I would point out in particular is that it's about understanding natural language input and generating human-like responses. The thing about ChatGPT is it's what's called a generative AI. So since I was on a bit of a roll, I asked ChatGPT, what's generative AI? And again, I won't read the whole thing. You're welcome to do so on your own. But what I would highlight for you is that it's about generating new content or data that is original and not directly copied from existing examples. So in this case, it's artificial intelligence taking in a whole bunch of information and based on that information, creating new content. And in the case of ChatGPT in particular, it's using basically the knowledge of the internet to create new content. So that then led me to say, well, let's see what we can do with ChatGPT. So I told it to write me a 200-word article about Reshift Media winning the best franchise marketing firm at the Global Franchise Awards. A little self-serving, I know, but in terms of an example, I just wanted to show you what sorts of things ChatGPT could do. And I have to say, it's a pretty good article. Now, it's not perfect. You're certainly going to want your copy editor to go through it, make sure it's great. But instead of spending maybe a few hours writing something like this and going through it, ChatGPT did this in a few seconds. Now, like I said, it's not Shakespeare, but it's pretty good. Now, having said that, I could have asked ChatGPT to write it like Shakespeare, which it did. And I have to say, there's a couple of really good ones in here. But this was obviously done in fun, but the point is you could have it write in different tones. I could have it write like Hemingway, or I could have it write in this case like Shakespeare. So it's able to create content using different sorts of tones, templates, approaches. And again, it's using the knowledge of the internet. So when I was looking at this article, it actually brought in some information from our website, reshiftmedia.com. And I actually recognized some of the phrases and ways that we describe our company. So ChatGPT, again, is using kind of the knowledge of the internet to be able to write new, unique content. Now, it's not just limited to text. There's also DALL-E, which is created by OpenAI that owns ChatGPT, and it's able to create images. So here's an example where we're asking DALL-E to create an expressive oil painting of a basketball player dunking, depicted as an explosion of a nebula. And this is what the AI created. So this wasn't a human creating it. This isn't the AI adapting something. It literally created this picture based on that description. Another example, again with DALL-E, is a Shiba Inu dog wearing a beret and a black turtleneck. And I have to say, it's pretty good. Now, I've handpicked a couple of examples here, but so sometimes the images aren't exactly perfect. But the point is that this is the worst it's going to be. The technology is getting better all the time. So from here, it's only going to be a better image based on the description. So what you should expect to see from an image point of view is that the AI is able to generate new images based on existing information based on what you're asking it to do. Really, really interesting. So that then says, well, what's happening with this technology these days? Well, all of the major players are really active in the space. So Microsoft, as an example, has invested billions of dollars in OpenAI, which is the company that is behind ChatGPT. And obviously what Microsoft's looking to do in this case is they want to challenge Google's search dominance. And the company, being Microsoft, announced just in February of 2023 that they'll be integrating ChatGPT into both its Bing search engine in an effort to compete with Google, but also the Edge browser. So not to be outdone, of course, Google has been incredibly active in the AI space. It's created its own artificial intelligence, which is named Bard. And during their annual I/O conference just recently, Google announced that they plan to infuse search results with AI technology. And what they're calling that is the search generative experience. And so basically what Google's saying is that they're reimagining search where you're still typing in a query and it still gives you links to websites. But in some cases, the top of the page, as you see depicted here, will feature text that has been brought in by an AI that pulls information from across different sources around the web and gives you a more text-based description. The idea then is it will link to those sources so that you're able to see where it got that content from. And Sundar Pichai, the head of Google's parent company, Alphabet, says that they're reimagining all of their core products, including search. Now, one thing people aren't talking as much about is Meta, because for years, Meta has actually been employing a world-class AI research team. And they've been publishing industry-changing research for a number of years. Mark Zuckerberg himself wrote in a blog post in March 2023 that our single largest investment is in advancing AI and building it into every one of our products. And during an earnings call in April, he mentioned the word AI at least 27 times in the span of an hour and said that generative AI is literally going to touch every single one of Meta's products. So the reason I'm telling you all this is because all the biggest companies in the world are incredibly active on researching AI and incorporating it into the products that marketers use every single day. So let's bring this back to franchising, because I promised you that we'd be talking about how this applies to franchise companies. So let me give you an example. Let's say Reshift Media decided to launch franchises in Philadelphia, Chicago, and Houston. So we obviously have great content at reshiftmedia.com. And so because I want each of my franchisees in those cities to be successful, what I would normally do is I would create microsites for each of them. So as an example, if Reshift Media has a great page about how we do search engine advertising for franchise companies, I would want to have that same sort of content in my Philadelphia microsite, my Chicago microsite, and my Houston microsite. And the reason is because I want people in those cities, when they're visiting my Philadelphia franchisees microsite, I want them to be able to see, Reshift Media in Philadelphia does search engine advertising, or in Chicago, or in Houston. So you're creating a really good user experience by bringing that content as close to the user within a local microsite. Good for the franchisee, good for the customer. And even more importantly, if someone goes to Google and they search something like search engine advertising in Philadelphia or search engine advertising in Houston, I want that search result to be my local microsite so my franchisee gets the benefit. So what we see with a lot of franchise systems is they'll take that search engine advertising page that we have on reshiftmedia.com and they'll say, that's great. It's great content. I spent a lot of time on it. It says exactly what we need to do. And they copy and paste that across all their local microsites. And that's great from a customer experience point of view. So now when a customer comes to my Philadelphia microsite, they're like, oh, great, Reshift does search engine advertising. But from a search point of view, this actually doesn't work. In fact, this is something we see all the time with franchise systems, where they simply copied and pasted content across all of their local microsites, whether that's services or products or whatever you happen to have. What happens is Google sees that as duplicate content. What that means is that Google's looking for the single source in their database, being the web, of a particular piece of information. So if your content's exactly the same, Google says that's just duplicate content. I don't care. And it's not even going to count all of those local microsites in its index. So what we do at Reshift, and this isn't at the AI part yet, I'll get to it, but we do at Reshift today already, is we actually bring people in to create unique content. So what that means is we'll have a page on reshiftmedia.com that talks about search engine advertising. We'll have different editors on our team rewrite that content specific to Philadelphia, specific to Chicago, specific to Houston. So it will still talk about search engine advertising as a service, but it will add local terminology and it will write about it in a different way. So even though it's really the same topic, but because it's written in a different way and it's meant now for that local audience, Google says that's great, it's relevant. And it will index each of those individual search advertising pages. So now when someone searches, hey, I need search engine advertising help in Philadelphia, that Philadelphia page will rank. And as a natural adjunct to that, all the content you've now written across your whole network about search engine advertising is all deemed unique, which then helps your ranking for search engine advertising overall in the network. So we at Reshift have done this with hundreds of different franchise systems, and this is the SEO gold standard. Now, the problem is it's very labor intensive, clearly. If you're a franchise system with 200, 500, 1,000 locations, it's going to be pretty difficult to write about your services 1,000 different ways. I can tell you we've done this for franchise systems that have hundreds of locations, and after a while it does get a little difficult to come up with new ways to talk about the same services. So this now comes back to our conversation about ChatGPT and AI, because what ChatGPT does, as we just saw, it creates new, unique content based on existing information. So what I could do is I could say, hey, ChatGPT, please write about search engine advertising for me for my Philadelphia location, for my Chicago location, and for my Houston location. So is the copy unique in that it's different from each location? Absolutely. But is it valuable and is it a new thought? No, because it's using the same germ of information, simply writing it a different way. That's why we've color coded this a little differently, where it's different, but it's really still similar. So the question for us to talk about here is this an application of ChatGPT to solve the problem of all these humans having to write content? Will this count for search? Well, the answer is we don't really know for sure just yet. So Google is on record saying that they are not against AI-generated content. In fact, they've explicitly said that, as you can see here, and in some blog posts they've written. But they are evaluating every piece of content against what they call their EEAT criteria, which is expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So what that means is they're evaluating a piece of content to see, is it unique, yes or no, but is it of value? And Google absolutely is able to determine if a piece of content is AI generated. They look for patterns in words, they look for certain sentence structure. They have a whole team of people that is actively working on algorithms and methodologies to identify AI generated content. So that way, people aren't just flooding the internet with duplicative content from AI that isn't necessarily of value. So coming back to the question, is this a viable application of ChatGPT? The answer is we don't really know yet. I can tell you we at Reshift Media are carefully experimenting with this to see, but the danger, of course, is that by using AI to create content across your franchise network, it could be that Google sees that as AI generated and thinks that you're doing that as a means to try and game the algorithm as opposed to provide real value. So there's certainly a little bit of danger in that. So we are working on this. We are watching very closely how Google is going to treat it. Obviously, things are moving very fast in terms of AI and its adoption. So we'll certainly keep everyone updated in terms of what we find and what we see. But what we would say as Reshift at this point is be a little careful of using content in this fashion from an SEO perspective specifically. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't use AI for a bunch of other things. As an example, let's say I wanted to create an email campaign for our brand amplifier franchise marketing software. That's a piece of software that we in Reshift have developed for franchise systems. I've told ChatGPT the target is franchise companies, include a catchy call to action button at the bottom of the email. So that is literally all the direction I gave ChatGPT. And it went out and it read content from our website again about the brand amplifier software, and it created a pretty good email, I have to say. Again, it's not perfect. You're definitely going to want your content people to review this. So no, you're not replacing all your marketing people tomorrow with this, but it's certainly a good starting point. And most of the information it has here is actually quite accurate. I might question the catchy call to action button. In this case, it's just schedule demo, but nonetheless, it's crafted a fairly decent email. So if it can create a nice email marketing campaign, how about posts? So in this case, I've asked it to write a 75-word engaging LinkedIn post for Reshift Media about a particular article that we wrote about AI a little while ago. And again, this is all the information I gave the search engine is just, here's the link, write a good LinkedIn post. And I have to say again, it's not bad. What I like is it's done things like it's included emojis, which candidly I didn't expect when I first started running these experiments a while ago. And it's included some nice topical hashtags as well. So again, it's not perfect. I'd probably get our content people to smooth this over a little, but as a starting point, pretty good. The topical hashtags in particular are really, really nice. So let's again talk about this from a franchise perspective. Where this starts to get really interesting is where I take that same post that I just got from ChatGPT, or it could be something my content people have created, and I say, hey, make this post something specific about Houston. And you can see what's written here. It's included Houston a couple of times. I wouldn't have minded a few more topical Houston things, maybe Houston in the hashtag, which it does do, by the way, in some cases. But in this particular case, it's added in, hey, Houston-based franchise companies and franchises in the Houston area. And what's more interesting is you see that the actual post itself is different. So it didn't just insert the word Houston, it actually rewrote the post incorporating Houston. This is very, very interesting from a franchise perspective. So let's play this out to show you why. So let's say my content person in my company creates a post that says, we make the best pizza. So let's say I'm part of a pizza company. My content creator says, here's my post, we make the best pizza. Now, what you have as a franchise organization is you have all your great location information. So you know the name of all your locations, address, phone number, products, specials or offers, all kinds of information. So if you take that location information and you marry that now up with an AI and automation, what you're able to do now is you can mash up that core concept of we make the best pizza with all the location information. So now what I can do is I can generate posts for each of my locations, be they LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever posts you like. They can be completely unique. So it says, we make the best pizza in Chicago for my Chicago location, or we make the best pizza in Philadelphia. And if there happens to be an offer running for Philadelphia, the AI can tack that on. For a limited time, buy one medium, get one free. So now what you're doing is you have a content person who's coming up with the strategy, the overall approach, the right tone. Then what you do is you run that through your AI combined with your local information, and suddenly you're now creating completely unique posts for every single location. And what's interesting about this is there's no SEO ramifications. It's not like your Instagram post or your Facebook post has any bearing on SEO. So in fact, you don't have to worry about that. You are just creating unique content for all your locations, for all of your local customers that is now in fact based on their locality and any specials or offers or any other information you want to include, by the way. It could have the name of the franchisee, or if your locations are named slightly different, could have the name and location. Anything that you have in your location database can be married up. And what's even more fun is when someone clicks that ad, that can now click through to landing pages that carry that through. So instead of clicking an ad and going to the homepage on your website and making it the customer's problem to figure out where they go to buy, whether that's ordering a pizza or ordering a shoe or reserving a spot or whatever it is, that ad can now click through to a landing page that is specifically about that location and even that offer. So now what's happening is you're giving a great customer experience. And what's really powerful about this approach is when someone's scrolling through their Facebook or Instagram or TikTok feed, they're scrolling through to be entertained. They're not looking for your ad. So if you just have a generic ad saying, hey, we make great pizza, yeah, that's nice. But if you say we make the best pizza in Chicago, first of all, quite the statement given Chicago's reputation for pizza. But beyond that, because the person sees Chicago and they live in Chicago, or it can even get more granular where it's a suburb. If your store happens to be in a specific suburb, you can name that as opposed to the whole city. That becomes very powerful. We call that a scroll stopper because instead of scrolling through on your phone and just zipping past, when you see that there's the best pizza in Chicago, you're going to stop because now it's relevant to me. So by increasing that relevance, what we have seen, we do this with customers all the time, by the way. At Reshift Media, we are constantly using automation and customization and local data to create posts and landing pages exactly like this via the brand amplifier I mentioned. But the reason I mention that is because we have seen firsthand that incorporating that local information and using automation increases post engagement. So this is organic engagement on Facebook or Instagram, as an example. Increases that engagement 200% to 500%. More likes, more comments, more shares, more clicks, simply because you've added that additional level of specificity and granularity. From an advertising perspective, you can do the same thing. You can incorporate local information and local offers into your Facebook ads, your Instagram ads, even your Google search ads. And if you do that, we routinely at Reshift see an improvement of 500% or more. And again, that ad is just so much more relevant. It gets more clicks and more conversions. So if you're a lead-based business or an e-commerce-based business or even an in-store purchase, you will see more conversions simply by using that local data you already have, combined with some degree of automation and AI to be able to do that. And I can tell you, this absolutely works. So as a franchise system, this is a way to deliver real value to your franchisees. Now, let's take this to the next level. I told you before that Meta and Google and Bing and everybody else is working on AI. So if you have your location data in your AI automation on your end already built, and again, remember, that local data is proprietary to you. So you have all that local information about your franchise network. If you now make use of the user data that Meta, Google, and others have, that becomes very interesting because Meta and Google know literally everything about us. They know the demographics, buying habits, interests, preference. They know what high school I went to. They know who I'm friends with. They have an incredible amount of data on everyone around the world. And where this gets really powerful is as Google and Meta are unlocking that data through AI. And if you already have a system in process or a process where you're using your location data and AI automation, if you combine those two, things start to get really interesting. So let me give you an example. So let's say we create that post again. So our content creator creates a post, we make the best pizza. That content runs first through our location automation that we talked about before. And then secondarily, it now runs through, let's say Meta in this case, Meta's personal data that they have on every person. What that means now is our posts aren't just localized, but they're personalized. So let's say we have a gentleman here who is a fan of Hawaiian pizza. So it says, we make the best Hawaiian pizza in Chicago. So the Chicago comes from your database. The Hawaiian is because Meta knows that this particular gentleman tends to click ads or posts that say Hawaiian pizza or reduce coupons that say Hawaiian pizza. So now that person is getting an ad specifically tailored to them. Again, based on a combination of your location data, Meta's personal data. Let's say there's another person in Chicago who's a vegetarian. Well, they would see an ad that says we make the best vegetarian pizza in Chicago. So again, the core content is developed by your content creator at the start, goes through location information to get Chicago, goes through personalization information to get vegetarian and Hawaiian. And what's really interesting is, let's say we have someone over here who is gluten-free and really likes deals. Well, same thing. We make the best gluten-free pizza in Philadelphia. Mention this adding at 50% off. So now think of all the data points you're connecting based on that particular person, based on the location and the offers they have, and based on obviously the geography. And this isn't exactly ready to go just yet, but it's very, very, very close. Meta has a couple of things. They've got lots of things in the works, but two things I would highlight. One is called Advantage Plus Catalog Ads. You may have heard of this called Dynamic Product Ads previously. It's been rebranded. So basically, those exist today. And if you have a product catalog and if you engage in e-com, you're able to upload your entire catalog to Facebook. And what they will do is they will serve those product ads to people based on their preferences, their buying habits, what color of product they like or how they buy product in certain combinations. So you can already achieve something very close to this if you were to combine your geography with the Advantage Plus catalog ads to be able to serve ads something like what we're showing here. But even more interesting is that on May 11th, Meta announced what they're calling an AI sandbox for advertisers. And what this helps them do is create alternate copies, including the backgrounds, text prompts, image cropping for Facebook and Instagram ads. So that is literally what I was just describing, where they will allow different ads to be generated based on the core copy that's provided, and they're going to be matching that to people's behaviors, interests, etc. Google, not to be outdone, has a product called Performance Max, which has actually been out since, I believe, late 2021. It's actually a really interesting product. If you've never tried it, I really encourage you to check it out. What it is that they have a number of products that Google owns: Discover, Gmail, Maps, Search, Display, YouTube, where what they're able to do now is you create one campaign and it runs across all of those platforms. So you give them a few bits of copy, you give them some images, give them your logo, give them a video, and Google actually puts those together in different combinations. So they'll take an image with different copy, with your logo in a different spot, and they will change up the layout of your ads and where those ads are served and who they're served to and what they say to try and get to the right people. So again, very close to what we're talking about here, where you can now combine your location information with Performance Max to create, using Google's machine learning to create all kinds of different ad combinations programmatically. And the other thing they're working on, which I mentioned earlier, is their search generative experience. So again, in this case, what Google's looking to do is use all that powerful data they have combined with an AI to enable better ad serving. So if you're a franchise system, you should be thinking about how you can use Google, Meta, TikTok's information, their user information combined with your data to create a much, much better customer experience and a more effective customer experience and deliver real value to your franchisees. Now, the secret to this whole system is the user data. That's really the secret to making this work. That's why Meta and Google are able to do what they do. So for those franchise systems who are really trying to get ahead of the curve, I encourage you to start thinking about your first-party data strategy. But first-party data is basically information that a company collects directly from its customers and owns. So as nice as it is, and I highly encourage you to use Facebook and Instagram and Google's products to be able to get an edge like I just showed you, the downside is everybody can use that. So all you need is a really good agency or a really good in-house marketing team who knows what they're doing, and anyone can use those Meta and Google tools. So it's not differentiated to you. So that user data that you're getting from Google and Meta, although massive, the best data set probably in the world, is not unique to you. So the only reason it's proprietary is because you're using it in a way that's very interesting and combined with your own data to create a great user experience. The next level is to use your own data. Rather than relying on Meta and Google, get your own first-party data. And this would be things like, using an e-commerce or online profile, a loyalty program, product registration, newsletter, subscription, surveys, lead generation forms, all these methods to gather information into your own database. And the reason you want to do this is because then that information is proprietary to you. Only you have it, no one else can use it. And on top of that, there's a real push for privacy, as we've all seen. Apple, obviously, with iOS 14, really changed how privacy works on their devices. The Safari browser, Firefox browser have all changed how they handle third-party cookies. Google Chrome is looking to make a major change to third-party cookies in the near future. And what that's doing is it's making it harder for the ad platforms like Meta to be able to track information on a user basis. It's making it harder for them to be able to attribute, in particular, purchases to individuals. So their ability to track off Meta activities, as an example. So when I'm in the Facebook app and I click an ad and I click out to, say, an e-commerce website, the ability to make that connection is not as good as it once was. All this to say that companies who go to the trouble to gather their own data are going to have a lot more flexibility and be able to create a competitive advantage. And the sorts of things you're able to do are things like product recommendations. So again, now if you have a user profile, you know their purchase history, you're now able to make product recommendations, a la Amazon, although maybe not on that scale, but that's sort of a concept. Or personalized newsletters. So if you send out newsletters with your specials and offers, if you know someone tends to buy certain products, you can tailor those offers, which is kind of my next point, which is personalized offers. So once you know someone's cadence of buying or type of products they tend to buy or the level of discounting that kind of gets them to make a purchase, you can now personalize your messaging, whether that's newsletters or offers. What's also interesting is you can get down to customer level analytics. Maybe not by the individual customer, but certainly by customer type as a minimum. You're now able to see certain types of customers have certain types of buying behaviors or certain products they like to buy. And what's really fun is it actually makes your advertising targeting better. So yes, although Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google all have incredibly good targeting, if you have your own customer data, what you can do is you can use that customer data, pass it into those platforms to create custom and lookalike audiences, which are now unique to you. So you're using your own customer data and actual data, not just pixel fires, but real purchase data. You can segment it, create different customer groups, pass that into Meta or into Google, into TikTok, into LinkedIn, and create different audiences to target based on what you know about your customers. Really, really, really powerful stuff. So to summarize, the few thoughts that I've shared with you in this video and in the article that is going to be attached to this, AI is definitely going to be a game changer. So this is for real. It's happening at lightning speed. You should be thinking about things like automation and how you incorporate that into your marketing and frankly, your overall business. Localization and how that's a differentiator. Personalization, particularly the first-party data and making use of those Meta, Google, and other tools. And customer service. So we didn't talk a lot about it in this video, but using AI from a chatbot experience and a customer service experience to onboard them is something worth looking at if you have any degree of customer service built into your franchise system. We highly encourage you to experiment with AI and make use of the tools Google, Meta, and other companies provide. They're doing it anyway. You might as well use it. Make sure you're up to speed in terms of what Google and Meta are incorporating into their backends, and make sure that you're trying and experimenting to see what works for you. And then a real takeaway I would say is franchise companies have a real opportunity to localize their information and break through the clutter. As I said, we have seen firsthand that you're getting 200, 300, 5%, 500% improvement in results simply by taking advantage of that local footprint that franchise systems naturally have anyway. And you can do it at scale. Using automation, using AI, using machine learning, you can scale local where it's not super costly and where you still get those great results. And the last thought I'll leave you with is that if you have the ability to do so, collect first-party data. Now make sure you have a good plan. What data are you going to be collecting? How are you going to store it securely so you don't have data breaches? And most importantly, how does that data give you a competitive edge? How are you going to put it to use? Thank you so much. Again, my name is Steve Bjors. I am the CEO of Reshift Media. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy the corresponding article we're going to be putting with this. If you ever have any questions about this or any other topic related to franchise digital marketing, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you so much and have a great day.